This is part 3 of the MQ integration series in Data Power, and this is the last part. In part 2, I have shown how to integrate Data Power with an MQ server. But then a question remains how a lab should be prepared so that you can do it. You can do this hands-on exercise by yourself on your local laptop. Now, in order to do this lab, you need to set up 3 things: Data Power, an MQ server, and the last thing is your testing tool. Setting up Data Power appliance is something I covered in another video, so you might want to take a look at it. Depending upon you're dealing with Windows or you're dealing with MacBook, the setup is described there. If your laptop is Linux oriented, then look at the Windows tutorial. It will also give you an idea how to set up it on a Linux environment. The second part is the MQ server setup. Setting up an MQ server can be complex, and depending upon the skill set that you have, you may or may not have a full idea as to how to set up an MQ server correctly. This video focuses on an MQ server setup. The third part, which is Postman, you are perhaps already aware of the Postman. It comes as a plugin in Visual Studio Code, which I usually prefer, but it also comes as a standalone exe, so you can download and install it for testing purpose. There is nothing special with Postman. You can also use any other tool like curl or any other testing tool available at your disposal. So let's get started about the MQ server installation on your local laptop. As I said, setting up a full-blown MQ server is going to be a complex exercise. You got to install the MQ server, then you got to configure the queue managers over there, then you got to configure the storages, authentication, and all that. That's a lot of a hassle for somebody who is trying to just understand or who is trying to experiment with MQ connectivity and integration in Data Power. So this video is focused on simple parts of the data related to MQ setup. Now, the simplest way in which you can set up an MQ environment on your local laptop is the Dockerized MQ setup. In order to do this Dockerized setup, I have provided instruction in the description, so you can take a look, you can copy commands from there and you can execute it. But I will describe here what these commands are and how do they work. So on this screen, you can see the first command, which allows you to pull the Docker image from icr.io, which is IBM's repository. Executing this command does not require any kind of user ID or password. No, any kind of privilege, any kind of token is not required. You can simply copy this command and you can execute it. Since I already have this, the latest version, it's going to finish quick. But you can see that I just copied and pasted it over here. And it says pulling from image IBM MQ. And it says that, okay, you already have an image, which is the latest. So it did not pull anything else. But the reason why I showed you here is to tell you that executing this command does not require any kind of token or security token or user ID or password. You just go ahead and execute it. It will be downloaded on your computer. Then you will have to verify it. So you can see that I'm going to paste this command, Docker images, and it shows you that you have this image over here. I have many others, but need to focus on this icr.io, this one. Okay. Last one. Next one, you got to create a volume. This step is essential. In my case, it's already created, so I need not have to create a volume here, but you must create a volume. Skipping this step means your MQ server will not be configured properly. It may not run, however, many cases. Okay, so assuming that this one is done, the next step is to run this image. Very simple. You say docker run, Provide some environment variable like license accept. You can see that I have provided an MQ queue manager called QM1. So while I run this, I also provide some initial configurations for this MQ server. So MQ queue manager name is QM. Volume, you can see that QM1 data, the volume that we created, I'm mounting it here. Then you see that I am publishing two different ports. Port number 1414 is primarily for programmatic access, and port number 9443 is primarily for WebGUI. So you see this WebGUI MQ console running. It's running on 9443 by virtue of this. Now you can see that there are two passwords that I provided here. One is app password and another one is the admin password. Skipping this means that either your app will not be able to connect to the MQ, or you will not be able to log into the MQ console if you do not provide the admin password. There is no default password. There is nothing special with this password. You can have your own. It's just for simplicity I kept it. And then the usual thing like the name of this container, and here I provided the image. Once you run this Docker run, you need to verify it with the Docker PS process. So let's say Docker PS, because I already ran it. You can see that I have a MQ server running over here. See that? This is the MQ server, and the ports that I mentioned are all exposed. At the same time, you also see that I have a data power appliance running here as well, IDG. Now, this is important that this appliance runs, because if it will not run, otherwise, how are you going to do the complete lab? So it is also important that you bring your data power appliance up, the container up. So this is how you configure an MQ server. Now, if you are interested in understanding the MQ versions and all, you will have to log into the container instance, the MQ container instance that you have just created. You can see here that the name of the instance is QM1. So I can say Docker exec, and this will give me an interactive shell. So I'm on bash prompt, good. And if I use this command, then it is going to give me the MQ related, server related information. So you see that its version is 9.4. It is important for you to know this version. And then you can see some other details related to it as well, like what is the base platform over here, where is the data path over here, and it is a CI/CD instance of it. So this is how you're going to install an MQ server container instance on your local laptop in order to make sure that you complete this exercise. Okay, now next part. So I have an MQ console over here, and I'm supposed to log on to this MQ console. So you can put the user ID as admin, and the password, you got to see this. Here, what did I put as a password? Here, the password is password. So copy this and paste it, say login. Okay, so I'm on the MQ console. Now you can see that Queue Manager 1 is already created for me. Why? Because I specified it in the initial configuration. Now you can see that many details related to Queue Manager. And in fact, you can also check what are the different channels which are available over here. So you can explore this UI. I would suggest that you explore this UI, and you would find many different details. So you can go to channels. So here, application overview and app channels. So you see that channel. Now this is the channel that is something that you should use for your applications. And this is typically used for administering this server. So this is the channel. In my part 2 video, this is the channel name that I picked up. Okay, fine. So this is the channel name that I picked up. And then you have queues. So when you when you instantiate a Docker instance, all these queues, they'll come with it, which means that you do not have to create them. Of course, you can create any queue from here. It's not a problem. But these queues, they come already there. So you don't have to configure anything. They are configured over here, and you can just use them for your application testing and whatever you want. So this is about the queues. This is about the channels. And I think there are some. So go to the here. Okay, fine. So this is about how this is working. These are queues over here. We use this queue in our last demo. So there are two messages over here that you can see. Yes. So this is what it is. And in order for you to connect with your applications to connect with this, you can see that you have provided a password called password. So this is the password using which your applications will connect to it. And then you should use the username as app. So that's what you should use. So this is the username and this is the password with which your applications will connect. So this is here. This is defined on this in the server itself, and you can take a look at it. But this is all in all the overall configuration of MQ that would be required to complete this lab. MQ is a huge topic, and it is foolish to say that I can cover it in one single video, but that's not the intent. The intent is that you set up the MQ so that you can test the data power and MQ integration, and here you have it. So that's all about it. Thanks for watching.